Today in our entitled parents, entitled parent tries to force her kids onto business class. So I was watching some commentary videos of this subreddit and realized I had a perfect story to tell. In April last year, me and my family had decided to go to Pakistan to visit family. We rarely go since it's an 8-hour flight. It's a super hot country and tickets can be rather expensive. However, this particular time my dad managed to find some plane tickets for business class which were relatively cheap and booked them. This was my and my siblings' first time traveling in business class, so needless to say we were pretty excited. We get to the airport check-in, go through security and chill in the business lounge until our flight. We were all in a good mood and were excited to see where we would be sitting on the plane. We were the first group to get on and we all sat in our seats, just talking amongst ourselves. After we were boarded, economy class then boarded. This is where the story gets a bit interesting. I was sat next to this woman and her child, and she explained it was her kid's first time going to Pakistan, so she booked business class so it would have a comfortable flight, which I thought was sweet. Shortly after, a woman from economy EP walks through the curtains into business class and walks up to the lady, asking her why she is her. She told the woman what she told me and it clicked, that they were family, so I pretended to ignore. Then Ep then walks up to one of the hostesses and asks if he can pay to be upgraded to business class. The hostess explained it wasn't possible and went back to her seat. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. About 5 hours through the flight, my brother needed the toilet. Both of my parents were asleep and I didn't fancy waking them up, so I took him myself. Even though he is old enough to go himself, he is autistic, and so he needs help with the most basic things. It took quite a long while since my brother was pretty much faffing around and was acting up. By the time we came back, we found 2 little boys sitting in our seats. I asked them to move since I knew they weren't in business class. The business class section of the plane was small enough that you could basically see everyone who was sitting there. They refused to since they claimed their mother allowed them to sit here. Not wanting to kick them out myself, I explained the situation to a flight attendant who escorted them back to her parents. I got my brother sat back down with Mum and I returned back to my seat, attempting to go to sleep. It was then that Ep storms in, furious that her kids have been kicked out of business class. She stated that the seats were empty and that me and my brother had stolen their seats. When I explained that I had taken my brother to the bathroom and that they were in fact not empty, she just replied with, "Well, surely they can sit here for a bit. It's not harming anyone." The flight attendant tried to calm her down and get her to leave, but she wouldn't budge. "Why don't you sit with the rest of us?" She then shouted, clearly angry at the fact that she was not on the same level as us. At this point, my dad had woken up. He is a pretty grumpy guy when he is woken up rudely, and even more so if someone disrespects his family. He basically told Ep to shut her mouth and called her crazy in Urdu, to which Ep got offended and started cursing him out back in Urdu. My dad, not wanting to stoop to her level, just rolled his eyes and put in his headphones. After her meltdown, another flight attendant, this time a male, explains that they may have to stop the plane and make an emergency stop to kick her off the flight if she does not calm down. This seems to shut her up, and she goes back to her seat, sulking. Luckily, nothing happened after that, and we could enjoy the rest of the flight in peace. Also, turns out the woman I was sitting next to was Ep's sister and was so apologetic to everyone for her sister's behavior. I couldn't imagine being sisters with someone like that. This next one is entitled, Parents take large chunk of young soldier's wedding money, probably kill his career as well. Obligatory, I'm a fan of this song. This happened about 15 years ago. At the time, my spouse was working at an officers' club at a military installation. Nowadays, most military bases have just one club, an officer and an enlisted, but this base still had two. The officers' club was much nicer than the enlisted club, so it was common for military members to hold events there. My spouse was the assistant manager of the night shift, as she was going to school during the day. On this particular evening, there was a young active duty military wedding reception. They were both salmon, and the groom was an enlisted serviceman. I make note of the nationality of the couple, as salmon families are very large, and special events can have hundreds in attendance. I was not there, but my spouse told me all of the event. At the entrance to the reception, there was a large box with a slate in it. This was a donation box for the young couple to help them for the future. Salmons are very generous with the families, so each donation was more than $20. There was likely thousands of dollars in the box. Everyone has a great time at the reception. As the evening winds down, only the immediate family is left. The family gathers around the donation box now opened. Here's where it gets dicey. The mother and father of the bride or groom, I have no idea which one it was, reach in and grab a large chunk of the money. Apparently it's their share. I have no idea if this is common in salmon culture, but this is what happened. After the parents got their money, they just left the club. Well, the money was needed not only for the future, but for the very immediate future. You see, it appears that the couple was relying on that money to pay for the bill. The young married couple now does the stupidest thing imaginable. They leave the club and start to head off the base. The officers' club is about a 3-4 mile drive from the main gate, which allowed the acting manager sufficient time to contact security police. The front gate, only exit gate at this time, does an immediate stop and search for all outgoing vehicles and easily finds the bride and groom. They are escorted back to the club. Once at the club, they have to meet with the manager. Since they were so young and low in rank, they needed what is in effect a consignor for the event. The groom's commander, an army captain, had consigned. The manager contacted him first to see if he could pay for the event, to which the captain replied, no, he didn't have enough funds. After many hours, my wife usually got home around 11:00 p.m. It was about 2:00 when she got home. Meeting with the manager, a payment plan was set up for the young couple. I'm not sure of the entire bill, but since this was the military, their payment was going to come direct from the paycheck until it was paid off in full. I'm sure there was extensive administrative punishment as well. Unfortunately, I have no idea. I just hope the parents had some fun with their share. This next one is entitled, My Baby Doesn't Wait in Line. So this is nothing compared to 99 of these stories, but it makes me roll my eyes every time. The elementary school bus stop is across from my house, and there are a lot of kids there, like 10, 12 every day. They are actually mostly well-behaved and line up nicely when they see the bus coming, except when Emma brings her kid, a kindergarten. They wait in the car until the bus is coming She takes him by the hand, walks up to the bus, and cuts in front of the whole line every time. I wonder why this lady doesn't want to teach her child how to be a polite member of society. This kid is going to get a rude awakening when mommy stops bringing him to the bus when he's a few years older. These kids are going to go all Lord of the Flies on him. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash the bell, and whatever else our YouTube overlords require nowadays.